Okay, guys, I just want to clear a couple of things up for you and make a couple of points about the most recent tragedy in Tennessee with the Bulldogs and the family, the two kids. It's a horrific event, and Jonas made a great point how a lot of people are out there hijacking this tragedy and utilizing it for their own personal gain, and that's typically what vultures will do. They'll take a story and they'll completely take they'll dehumanize the whole thing, and they won't really even talk about the main point of it. The main point of this whole thing is that it's tragic beyond words, and it's almost like people aren't really willing to let people grieve. People aren't willing to have empathy towards such a horrific and tragic event. They just want to use the story to get clicks, to get attention, right? And that's one of the reasons why I haven't really shared it. So that's the first point I want to make about this, is that I identify how sad this is, and I'd like to let the people have a couple of moments to grieve this thing. And I'm never, ever, ever in my life going to utilize a story for my own personal gain. So that's, again, why you guys haven't seen me talk much about it. And besides, like I said on my story last night, what else is there to be said that I haven't said in the past 7 years? The same type of stuff continues to happen over and over and over again. And it doesn't always only happen with pit bulldogs or bully breeds. And so, if we're going to talk about it, another point of emphasis is like, is it their fault? Now, yeah, the humans, this is where the responsibility always falls on, because those children were left with the dogs. As the story goes, they walked in on this happening. And if that's the case, well, they left their children alone with their dogs. Now, I'm not placing blame on the owners by saying that. All I'm saying is maybe these people were influenced by everybody out there talking about pit bulls were bred to be nanny dogs. So it gave these people all kinds of misled trust and a ridiculous mindset that, hey, these dogs are just born to protect children. That's not the case at all. Not even remotely close. Regardless of the breed, your dog is not a fucking babysitter. And to think otherwise is absolute ridiculous buffoonery. Now, again, I'm not saying this to place blame on these people. What happened is tragic beyond words, and I feel for them immensely. I can't even imagine what they're going through. This would put me on some sort of watch. Like, I wouldn't even want to be breathing anymore if this ever happened to me. It will not ever happen to me because I'm extraordinarily cautious with my children and dogs. You guys will be pretty surprised at the lack of interaction my child has with my dogs. Next to never, really. Certainly would never consider or entertain the idea of leaving them alone with my kid. And I have 3 dogs here that would literally never harm her. Never. But would I leave her? No, I wouldn't. I would never do that. So, they're not nanny dogs. That was just a nickname. And I've said this a million times, and all you have to do is read up on it. They were given the nickname because of the loyalty that they would show, and that's a case-by-case scenario. Pit bulls and bully breeds have the tendency of being extremely loyal to their people. But we don't know how long these people had these dogs. They could have went into the shelter and were convinced to go get a couple of power breeds and rescue some dogs. And, unfortunately, a lot of rescues and a lot of shelters may not know the information, or they withhold information. And they're adopting out extremely dangerous dogs that don't do well in specific situations, or with any kind of particular added pressure upon them. And we don't know if these children or one of the children triggered these dogs to do this. We weren't there. All we can do is assume what may or may not have happened. But I will say that the main reason this keeps happening is because the wrong people, and I'm not saying they're the wrong people, I'm just saying people that don't educate themselves, people who aren't really all about the training, people who don't do any breed research. And that's not to suggest that pit bulls or bully breeds are inherently human aggressive, because they're not. That wasn't a trait that was bred into them in the day when they were really breeding for specific traits for them. The reason why these dogs were bred, okay, which is irrefutable, is for the fight. They were bred to have animal aggression, not just dog aggression, animal, any kind of animal. That's why a lot of these terriers, including my own right here, has such an immense prey drive naturally, because Rosie, she's a little mutt. She's not a, I don't call Rosie, and here's the other thing, mislabeling. They call these dogs pit bulls and they were not. I saw an image of them. They're bully mutts at best. Bully mutts, which means they probably have a limited to hardly any actual pit bull terrier in them. And that's a problem of its own. Breed mislabeling is one of the things that leans most into breed-specific legislation. Because what happens is a bully mutt goes and does something like this, but pit bulls, which is a breed of its own, the American Pit Bull Terrier is its own recognized breed, okay? And if you call something a pit bull, an actual dog person is going to look at it and say, doesn't look like a dog that's anywhere between 35 and 50 pounds. These dogs, photographed, were at least 80 pounds apiece. That doesn't fit the description of what an American Pit Bull Terrier is. Does that make sense, you guys? Most people see a blockhead and they see that smile and they see some of the same characteristics from the pit bull and they're like, oh, it must be a pit bull. It's not. It's not. I mean, what else is there to say? Tragic beyond words, but let's get the facts straight about this shit, okay? The more you go and talk about nanny dog this, nanny dog that, that convinces people to go get a dog that they are not equipped to have. And what happens next? Things just like this. It sucks. And that's all I'm going to bring to you guys today. Now I'm going to go back to letting these people grieve, and I'm going to go back to letting them deal with this trauma that it would never leave me. I am so sorry for these people, man. It is beyond words. I mean, I truly cannot believe this shit. But it's going to happen, and it's going to continue to happen. And I think to myself, why do I got to keep saying this? It doesn't work. It doesn't do anything because it just keeps happening, keeps happening. But if this video influences any of you guys to start looking at the truth of the matter, maybe you guys can start a domino effect of actual truth. What's up, brother?